I want you to imagine that you take a 40-minute non-contact time and just throw it in the bin. Just throw it out. Because if you use a smartphone or a tablet and take any amount of photos in your day and your week, that's effectively what you're doing right now. So we talk about the overload of work in early childhood education, from documenting learning, writing that up, sharing with parents, planning, prepping, meeting times, everything else that goes into our job. What we don't talk about is camera roll tax, because where do those photos sit? On a camera roll, and they take up time. So I'm here today to talk to you about that tax, how it impacts your classroom, how it impacts your time. I'm Helen, and I'm an early years educator of 25, 26 years. I've taught in 10 different countries. And I can remember when I first started using digital cameras, because they were around, and we would take maybe 10 photos. If we had access to a printer, we would print up those 10 photos and they'd be displayed on the board. That would be it when I first started. Now, 26, 25 years later, the implosion of the amount of photos that we take in our day and our week has just grown. And I actually ran the numbers, and I take on average now about 150 photos a week, on average, some more, some slightly less. And that's impactful on everything I do. So the problem isn't taking the photos. It really isn't. We can do that really easily. That hasn't changed over time. What has changed is finding photos. So we take photos not only to share with parents, but as evidence of learning. And when you come to sit down and write, for me, I write it in learning story format. So I tell a narrative. I use those photos to support what I'm writing. And I don't have 40 minutes every single day to do that writing, so I save it for my non-contact times. That means that photos that are taken that day get put into the camera roll for the next day as well. And almost every single camera roll defaults to a chronological scroll. So it's just a set of times. So I have to scroll back through all of that to try and find the photos that I am looking for that correspond to what I want to write about. And that is where it impacts. That's where that tax, that camera roll tax, creeps in. So when I said I counted up how many on average photos I take a week, I went a little bit further in my math. And I then calculated on average how long it takes me to find a group of photos, or sometimes an individual photo. And it can take anywhere from a minute to 5 to 10. And that's a big jump, depending on when I do my documentation. If it's in the end of the week, that's 150 photos I'm scrolling through. So it can take quite some time to go back to try and remember when I took them, what was going on, what day was it, trying to find all of those things. And that, when you add that time up over the week, on average, works out to be about 40 minutes. So I've just thrown 40 minutes away scrolling, looking. It's not bad photography, it's bad software. And that impacts my time. That should be for planning, it should be for writing, it should be for me to get all of the work that I need to do done, so I don't have to do it after hours. But the issues don't stop there. So not only am I now overwhelmed with 150 photos at the end of each week, it comes down to the actual hardware that I'm using, not just the software. So some schools mandate that you cannot use your personal device, which would normally be your mobile phone. And that's because of safeguarding concerns. No complaints there. But what they do provide is not practical when you work in a child-centered play-based classroom, because iPads or tablets do not transport easily. They don't fit into a pocket. So what does that do to our actual practice? It changes up how we document learning. Instead of it being in the moment, catching those natural moments with the children, we end up structuring activities so that we can document learning. So because we know it then impacts our practice, and because we're now having to carry around a chunky iPad, and we're now shifting our practice a little bit. Oh, it's easier to set up this activity, to take photos of this, because I can't catch any in the moment conversations, learning, thinking, wondering that the children have, because who carries an iPad around with them? We then default, if you are able to, back to using your mobile device. And that then flips us into the whole child safeguarding concern issue that impacted that mandate in other schools. So while it's good, fully support keeping children safe, that decision to then provide teachers with a tool that does not support our practice then impacts right back on the children in another way. So as I said, I'm an early years teacher, and I don't work in a school where it is mandated that I cannot use my personal device. So that put me in a position of having children's photos on my device. I take them off and put them onto a school Google Drive. So there is there, but there's still chronological. I actually share those photos into a shared drive with 4 other teachers. So if they are taking on average 150 photos a week, imagine how much that is at the end of the week when I'm trying to do some work. It's a ton of photos I have to scroll through. And I thought to myself, there's got to be another way. There's got to be another way to do this. And just thinking about how I work, wouldn't it be easier if I could put the sorting in the process itself instead of adding another task to myself? So that's why I went, why can't I just say, hey, let's sort these photos as I take them? And that's what Surround does. That's what I'm building. Instead of waiting for some person who's not in early childhood education to build something that fits our workflow, I built it myself. By using voice activation, you can put your photos in a folder, name that folder, take your photos, job's done. You now have all your photos organized, and it gives you that 40 minutes back. Then you can take it out of the trash, put it back on the table, and use it for things that are valuable to you. Planning, documenting, writing, communicating with parents, meeting with colleagues. That 40 minutes, my cat popped into the video there. But Sarone is built by an early childhood teacher for an early childhood teacher, and it's designed to work for us. So the photos that you take on Sarone are not stored in your camera roll. They're stored in a secure end-to-end encrypted cloud. As the owner of Sarone, I do not use your photos for analytics. I do not share them with anyone. Your data is completely safe. I know the importance of protecting children. 2, Sarone is built to work with you. No more sorting at the end of the day, wasting that really valuable non-contact time. So my question to you is, next time you sit down to do your documentation and you need photos that support that writing, have a think. How much time are you using to scroll through those photos? See you next time.